Protecting children or censorship. Lawyers clash over Texas's age verification requirements for adult websites. Let's talk about it. Supreme Court just heard arguments. What do you think, guys?
First Amendment right. Does Texas have the right to, either preclude content or people from, getting onto the internet? Is there an invasion of privacy issue? I know that the Free Speech Coalition spoke in the Supreme Court, arguing, that this is a violation of free speech, essentially. So I think that there's going to be a lot of legalities that come into it, and how to censor and monitor the internet has always been an issue and it's always going to be an issue. So forcing an 18-year-old kid to show his ID before he gets onto an adult content website may just be an invasion of privacy. And I think it's going to be serious arguments in Supreme Court in Texas.
Right, and we see two main areas of concern here, right? You've got the age verification piece where you have to upload some personally identifying document like a driver's license. I think the law also says you can do banking information. Yeah. I'm not sure why anyone would be uploading banking information to an adult content website.
Great idea.
So that's the First Amendment issue of it, right? Should you need to upload that content in order to see the other content? Yeah. And then the other issue is, well, who's monitoring the monitor, right? I mean, if I'm uploading personally identifiable government issue identification and other documents, what's that website doing with it after I upload it? How are they monitoring it? How are they keeping that protected and confidential?
My prediction: library cards are on the rise. Finally, the libraries are going to get their mass attendance, something with a little bit of a birthday line on there, done. And now you could go ahead and watch as much adult content as you possibly want.
But who's watching the watcher is the problem. Yeah. And I know when you travel at the airport, if you go through TSA pre-check or if you have clear, they tell you stick your license in, look at the camera, take a picture, but the picture's not going to be saved. It's here, it's gone. Is that what's happening on these adult websites, or are they storing the information for you to come back later on and say, oh, this is little Jimmy, this is a little Sam, or whatever. That's 18 years old that wants to access this, you're good to go. And frankly, the other thing is, just like anything else, if you want to access something, you're going to find a means, a way to do so outside of the law of either uploading maybe a fake driver's license or forging a bank statement or something. Because it's not the adult content's website responsibility to go through and see, oh, do you really have an account at Chase? And is this really you? They're not doing that. They're going to take the documentation on its face so long as it looks somewhat real. And I'm sure they probably have some AI program looking on the back end to speed up the process, because I could only imagine how many people would submit something daily.
What I want to know is if you ever logged into some sort of alcohol-related website, you got to hit a little button that says I'm over 21 years old. Same thing for cannabis, same thing for anything regarding cigarettes. So now all of a sudden the adult content industry is being attacked. Why are not all of the industries where you have to be above 21 or 18 being attacked for this front? So, I don't know, is this like a personal attack against the adult content industry?
This is more, it's a lobbyist.
Because what they say here is that adult content destroys young kids' brains, and it's addictive through, whatever it is, it's addictive, but
true.
And they're not wrong. It comes down to whether, again, some states, like here we're dealing with Texas, it's more of a conservative state. They're more religious values. It's different than a state that has no laws. That we have a few of those in this country that run rampant with whatever, however you want to be, you be, and that's fine. But here you have a little bit of a conservative approach by a conservative state, probably from more on the religious-based side.
Separation of church and state, man.
No. Hold on. I'm not going there, because that's not what it's about. But you have the people that are voted or elected have probably some, I would anticipate they have some conservative views, and that here it's not in the best interest to have adult content be freely available. You have these adult content websites that now have to place some kind of restrictions in to make sure that they are abiding by that state's law. Now, there's 50 states in this country. Different states are going to require different things unless we have one universal law that can work for everybody. So I don't know if there's a verify ID way.
It's never going to become federal. This is always going to be state to state. So there's definitely not going to be one universal law. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't want to say never, but
so these adult sites, you're going to have the option of either finding a way to survive in the state's laws, some states'
penetrate
laws,
the website,
right, and to make sure that they can do that, or they're gonna just shut down entirely in that state and just operate in the other states that allow them.
Which that's what they've done, by the way. Right now, while the case is going on, I think I believe Texas and Florida might be another one.
Has a freeze on adult content.
I could be wrong about the Florida, and I'd want to fact check that, but I know at least Texas, and I believe there's at least another state. I mean, Josh raises a good point, because why is this, which we all can agree that exposure to adult content at a young age, even at an older age, can seriously have negative mental health effects on the watcher, right?
I've never seen that science, by the way. I know people make that claim.
Come on.
I've never
Come on,
seen
we
the statistics
understand.
about how adult content, addiction maybe,
Right, but it's addiction and
but hurts your brain development?
Yeah, it could hurt your
How?
brain. Yeah, I think.
How? People that make adult content are considered actors and artists. So I mean, is it just the viewers? I mean, again, okay. I'm sorry.
And I
digress.
think that is beyond any of our
Okay,
brains.
okay.
But when you're talking about, if you want to go onto a cannabis website to see what they're offering that day, you just literally click a box that says yes, I'm 21, and that's it. And that's probably the way that's all it should be. But why is that, or an alcohol website if you want to like get a bunch of wine delivered or something? I mean, why is that different than the adult content that has an age restriction? Why isn't just the click yes, I'm over 18 or over 21? Why isn't that sufficient? And I think Rich is also right that this didn't come out of California, right? This came out of Texas, where there is a strong religious base, and the elected officials there typically go after things based upon their views of the world, right? And that's okay.
And it doesn't mean they're wrong or right.
It's just it is where that's where they're coming from, and that's what they're doing. But what tells us whether it's wrong or right is if you get up to the federal courts and you get up to the Supreme Court, what is the Supreme Court going to do about it? And the Supreme Court has indicated at this point that they do believe some type of verification is warranted, but they're not clear yet on what that actually is and what those regulations and parameters are going to look like. So
I would definitely not feel comfortable submitting any sort of personal information onto any of these sites. They mentioned bank verification, right? Which is whatever, right? Bank verification. I think there are adult content websites out there that you have to pay to enter or subscribe to certain types of videos.
How do you know this, Josh?
Yeah, it's hearsay. It's on the streets. On the streets again. Back to the streets. Yeah, research. Exactly. There are some adult content websites that actually charge money for people to get on. And is whatever they charge, monetarily, is that going to qualify or satisfy whatever the laws are here in this situation? So, I paid for some sort of subscribership, to watch some famous adult content, right? From some
But I
actress.
believe right now some of the penalties and fines are somewhat around like $10,000 a day per day that's being violated. Now the issue is if you're bringing in $100,000 a day and you're only being fined $10,000 to operate the way you are.
It's the adult content industry. There's hundreds of millions of dollars for
and
this
if it costs you more to comply with the monitoring than it does for the fine, are you
100%.
actually going to
Right.
comply?
No. Exactly.
And
that's the thing too, is because if you have people with the subscriptions like you're talking about, paying these subscriptions that are satisfying whatever the fine would be plus more profit and revenue, why would you want to change
unless
anything?
the state of Texas issues a ruling from their Supreme Court saying that the sites are going to be shut down? That's the only way I foresee they comply, because the monetary, the value that they have in their industry is so great that it's going to outweigh any sort of, little fine.
Now, is this in the United States Supreme Court?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay. So it's not the Texas Supreme Court
Yeah, it's
anymore.
the US,
Now that now the
They're
level
there.
now it's a totally different evaluation by the Supreme Court. Do they have standing? Do they even want to look at this case? From a legal standpoint. So
Which they've done. I mean, they had arguments. I mean, they did.
They-
I mean, they looked at it. They have
Yeah.
standing. They're doing it, and they had their initial oral arguments. And again, the court seems to think that it's the conservative part of the court seems to think that there should be some type of restriction. There should be some type of age verification, but they haven't indicated what that would.
But there hasn't been an official opinion.
No, correct.
Right? Yeah,
correct,
so
correct. It was only 2 weeks ago.
I'm almost interested in, and I'm sure this is going to be in every law school exam in the future, especially constitutional law. What are the dissenting views here that opine on what exactly happened and what technically is free speech? And again, do the alcohol companies and the cannabis companies and the cigarette companies the tobacco industry? Do they get dragged into this? Because again, why is it legal for me to click that I'm 18 without verification?
They may not have standing here, and just so everybody knows, standing is that there has to be an injury and there has to be then irreparable harm that's occurred, and that the law would need to be changed. So again, the cannabis companies, all that stuff, they may not have standing at this moment
No.
because there's no
Absolutely.
law that's banning that against them. But the
It's right
adult
around the corner,
website
though.
companies, they would have standing to bring forth a suit like this, and that's why they're able to be in SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States.
If this sticks for Texas or the Supreme Court and they make a ruling that you have to be above 21 and show some sort of verification, I can almost guarantee the rest of these industries are going to be facing the same kind of reprimand. So if you want to know more about your freedom of speech, your rights of privacy, log in to Legally Raw, and we're going to give you the legal opinions on what's going on here in the Supreme Court. Thank you, guys.
And if you're 18 and over, make sure you click like and subscribe below.
Yeah. Submit your bank information so we can verify. Yeah, great.
And the high school mascot.
Yeah.